Hi everyone, and welcome to Adair Gunsmithing. Now I had a customer bring this in. It was hacksawed and it was at a round and very rough. So I went ahead and drew this thing up for them. Now the way I did that is I made this jig first, and the way I made it so that way it would fit inside the muzzle. And then at the headstock I have my clamps here, and then at the tailstock I have my chuck inside the tailstock, and the chuck goes around the shaft here, and then I spin my barrel and I true everything up for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video of not only how to make one of these, but also how it works too as well, actually on the lathe and truing up a barrel. So I'm going to be right back and get another barrel. So now we have a barrel that we can work on. But before we get into that, let's talk about two things. One, legal, and two, design. So I got this off of ATF's website. I'm not going to read it, but I am going to show a picture of it. But basically what it's saying is that you want to make sure that your shotgun is 18 inches or more on the barrel, and then the overall length is 26 inches or more. Okay, because if it's not, then it becomes a NFA stamp issue. So when you are measuring and getting ready to cut, I suggest that you cut at 18.5, maybe even 19 inches, and making sure that that cut is also over the 26 inches, like 26, 27, 28, 29, something somewhere around there. Now we got that covered. So now we're going to cover the second part, which is the design of the fixture. So basically what you want is about 1 1/4 to, let's say, 1 1/2 for the shaft, which is this part right here where my thumb is, and then where my left index finger is, you will want that to be the diameter of the gauge that you're working on. So this particular one right here is 20 gauge, and that comes out to 0.615. Okay, now for 12 gauge, which is the barrel that we're going to be working on, that comes out to 0.725 in diameter. And also the length that goes into the muzzle end, you want that to be about 1/2 inch or so. You don't want to be too long, but you don't want to be too short either. Okay, because remember, the barrel is turning and this is stationary. So now that we have our design and we wrote all the dimensions down on a piece of paper, now we can go to the lathe. So the next time you see me, this will be, or no, I'm sorry, we're going to be making this first, and then after we're done with this, the barrel will be chucked into the lathe and we will start truing up the muzzle end of here. Alright everyone, here we are at the lathe. Got my bar stock in, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a facing cut to square the face. So let's go ahead and do that now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get this thing ready. Start making the shaft. We're going to bring it out some. We talked about 1.250 to 1.5. Doesn't have to be super accurate. It's just a reference point, because I'm going to be going past that anyways. Alright, let me get my cutting tool set up and I'll be right back. Alright, so now you see that I extended the piece out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut until we get close to 0.440. Remember, you don't want to go past it, and you're going to want to leave a little bit of room so that way when we're actually done making everything, we're going to do a finish pass. So let's get started. I'm just going to touch off here. Alright, so basically I'm just going to keep repeating this until we get down close to the 0.440. Okay? When I get close to it, I'll come right back. Alright, so let's stop right here and check. So we are exactly 442, which gives us 2/1000 cleanup after we do the barrel. Alright, so let's turn our lathe off. Now we said that we wanted about 0.500 sticking inside the barrel. So again, we don't have to be perfect on this measurement. Alright. So just like with the shank, we're now going to take down the barrel shank that goes into the barrel. And we said that those dimensions were going to be 0.725. So I'm not going to show you those cuts, but again, when you do make them, you want to make sure that you leave just a little bit of cleanup room, because you want to true everything up, not from the bar stock, but from the piece that you're making. So when we come back again, we're going to have close to the dimensions that we need. Alright, so here we are. I already did the measurement. It's 0.731. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut it, and then I'm going to do the face off. I'm not going to put that on camera though. And then next time when you see me, we're going to make our final cuts. We're going to chuck it on this end first. The reason why is because one, this is thicker, and two, is closer to the headstock. So this should be more accurate than this, because this was much thinner when I was making my cuts. Now in the beginning when I made my cuts, I was pretty aggressive. I was doing 40 thousandths, and then once I get smaller I started backing off to 20. But I want to make sure that the shaft is true to the part that's going to be going into the barrel. Okay, so that's why we're going to chuck this this in first, and then once we true up the shaft, we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to true up the part that's going to be going into the barrel. Okay, so the next time you see me, we're going to make those cuts. Alright, so here we are, last cuts. So let me go ahead and turn on the lathe, and let me show you how at a true it is. Hopefully you can see it at on the camera. But so you can see that it's just at a round, so we got to straighten that up. So let me touch off here. To our 2000s. So you can see, hopefully you can see on the camera where it cuts in some places but not in others. So this is why we're doing this. We're not going to go all the way to the shaft. I'm going to do it by hand the rest of the way. Leave it right there. Let's take another 2000s. Still not quite there. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm going to do a chamfer. Now when you do this, you want to be very delicate and light, because this is brass. You can still potentially bend it, and then you'll be back to square one again. Go. That's all you want to do, is just take off the sharp edge. Alright, so now we got that. Now it's time to take down the other side. You want it as close as possible to your jaws, but still far enough away so you can get your work, because you need to go all the way. Okay, let's do that. Now we said earlier that we were at 0.731 and we want to be at 0.725. So let's get a touch off. Here, it's cutting in some places and not in others, so we got to true it up. While still keeping close to our dimensions. So we are at 7. $7.28. All right. go another thou. Okay. Yeah. There we go. We'll stop right there. $25, $26, $27. Still got a little bit more to go. So let's go ahead. Take off 2,000s. Brings us right up to 25. See where we're at now. $25, so 0.725. Three. So we are right there. Alright, so we're going to stop right here. I'm going to do a check with the barrel, and I'll be right back. So here it is. Fits perfect. Just a tiny bit, which that's just fine, because I usually put grease right here, and that gives the little bit of room for the grease so you don't ruin the barrel. But that's awesome. Alright, we're going to call this finish. So now we're going to move on to the next step, because one of the things that I forgot, this is 12 that we're working on. The first one that I did was a 20. A 20 fit inside my headstock. The 12 will not, because it's too big here. So now we're going to have to make another jig, so I can hold this in between basically centers is what I'm doing. So when you see me, we'll be at the bar stock, you'll see the plans, and we'll start cutting. Alright everyone, this is now the video for making the chamber side of the jig. So I made my mark here. That's where I'm going to cut. Now I'm not going to show all of it like we did with the muzzle jig, but for the most part it's going to be exactly the same thing. So when I come back, it's already going to be cut. Alright, so here we are. It's already cut. Now when you do this, you don't want to be too far from your chamber size. So mine was 0.804. This was, I got it to 0.803 when I did my measurement. And also remember too, you want to do a chamfer right here. But don't get too carried away. Don't put a lot of pressure on your file when you're chamfering. Okay? So now the next step is that we're going to do the part that actually goes into the tailstock, or I'm sorry, the headstock itself. And this dimension is not critically important. You know, it can be anywhere from 1 inch or maybe a couple of thousandths less, just so that way you can take the, you know, the top of the finish from the bar stock when it was made. So, and we're going to make it about an inch long. No, maybe 0.75. We'll make it that long. And again, it's not critical. You just want enough so that way the jaws can hold it, and that's it. So next time you see me, it will be all done. Alright, so here it is. It's all done. So now all we have to do is get my barrel, put this in the lathe, chamber in right here, and then the muzzle over here in the other jig that we made. So I'm going to go get the barrel and I'll be right back. Alright, so here's a look at the jig, the lathe dog attached to it, and then the lathe. So it's basically, this is how it works. So let's get cutting. Alright, welcome back. First off, I want to say I'm sorry I didn't get the actual video of cutting the muzzle. I don't know what happened, I don't know what went wrong, but it didn't happen. And unfortunately I can't make the cut again because it's perfect for what I need it for, right where it's at. But I did bring it here so we can take a look at it, and then you can see right there, and I left it like this so that way it can show up on the video much easier, but I don't know, I'm kind of liking that. I like that stainless, and then all of a sudden it transitioned to the bluing. So I'm going to leave it like this. But normally what I would do, if the customer wanted it looked like original, then I would just take some cold bluing right here and just cold blue it. And then that would be it. It'll be done. So just to recap, you saw the video of how I had it in the headstock. For the tailstock end, you use the fixture that will support the muzzle. Or if you don't have the room, like for instance this barrel, it was too long for my lathe. So what I did is I took the tailstock off, and then I took a study rest and rested on there, and then went ahead and made my cut. So those are your two ways of doing it. So if you guys have a muzzle or a barrel that you want to cut and the muzzle needs to be trued up, just go ahead and give me a call. I'll see everyone next time.